The opinions expressed on this program are solely those of its hosts, guests, or callers, and do not necessarily represent the opinions of WTBR-FM, its management, other producers, or sponsors.
Well, the Gilda Wallace didn't get herself ejected in the state final for some dumb stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to say I dreaded showing up to this football game on Friday night, but
yeah, we'll see what happens.
like, if you want to talk, you have to talk into the microphone. There we go. Mic to mic.
I'm lost.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Bird's Eye View. Here on 89.7 WTBR-FM Pittsfield, 88.1 WSBR Lee. Jesse here along with Mike, and we have returning as a guest Howard Herman, and it is an exciting day, folks. Tonight, the high school basketball season starts. Tomorrow, the high school hockey season starts. Henry the Surfer is also here as well. So if one of us stops talking to grab him from shutting down the entire radio station, that's why. Yeah, Howard, he's been going right over to those computer banks.
No, that won't be me.
No. Yeah, he might be more mobile than you at this point. You can beat him in the 40, but he can do a 40 twice. Yeah, so it's an exciting time. High school basketball starts tonight. McCann Tech hockey is on the road tomorrow. On Friday, they're at Bethlehem in New York, in Delmar, New York, at the YMCA there. And then on Saturday, they're at LaSalle in Troy.
We need to keep an eye on those because they may not happen.
So
there's an issue.
There's a strike. Yeah, there's a referee strike. Originally, they were supposed to play LaSalle first and then Bethlehem, and that got flip-flopped. I talked to the McCann coach a couple days ago, and he was like, they say it can happen. I was working with the Peter Foote Arena in North Adams to try and
get them to come there. But last night we were both in Springfield at the Hall of Fame Classic when UMass played, and the first game was Albany and Yale. And the play-by-play guy for Albany is Roger Weiland, who's the sports director at Channel 13 over in Albany. And he was telling me that they were going out to do a story yesterday about this. And they were going to go to high school and talk to kids about how they can't play and all that. And then they got a call saying it's getting closer again, so that they called off their story. So I don't know whether that actually is ending everything. I haven't checked, but
yeah, they're going through union negotiations.
Yes.
So, yeah, but so in any case, they say it's going to happen. So right now, it's going to happen. Taconic hockey is at Minnechaug tomorrow night. That's Springfield Olympia Rink. So yeah, some hockey starts out. McCann finally a little older. Talked to Matt Breeze, the head coach. They have a solid group of returners. Their goalie returns. So it will be very interesting to see if they can take another step. They went from 2 wins to 4 wins. Taconic coming off another season at the Western Mass Final. They've been it 3 straight years, won once. So we'll kind of see how they do.
I'm curious to see whether head coach Matt Risley will be able to stand behind the bench for their opener, because Saturday night he was busy skating with the Pittsfield Fire Department, so he might be a little bit sore.
He might be a little bit sore.
He was out there, yes. We'll say did very short shifts for Riz.
Yeah.
And yeah, that'll once again be the whole everything south of Wacona.
Yes, yeah. So Mount Everett, Monument, Lenox, Lee, Wacona, Pittsfield, and Taconic are all at Taconic still.
There you go.
And it seems like that will be the case for the foreseeable future. The big news is that for the first time in, 5 years or so, the Berkshire League is back. On the boys' side, Monument, Wacona, Drury, Hoosick, Pittsfield, and Taconic are all in a league together. We talked about this a while ago, but just as a reminder,
is it actually called the Berkshire League?
It's actually called the Berkshire League.
Because we have had Berkshire County centric leagues in other sports,
yes,
and they still had their valley names.
I mean, the Grieve League in girls soccer was all Berkshire teams, but they did not call it a Berkshire League. But yes, this for all you old heads, you can rejoice as
Berkshire North plus Monument. Yeah.
Berkshire,
Monument used to be at one time. Monument was in the north.
Possibly, yeah. They weren't when the leagues disbanded. COVID year 2022. I went back yesterday and just did kind of a bunch of. I'll stick your hands in outlets, dude. just kind of a bunch of research into these 6 teams and what they've done since they were all kind of
Together?
split up. Yes, since the last time they were all together. But since they've been split up, it's been, I think, 4 seasons now. This will be season number 5, and they've done some really just impressive numbers. If I can scroll here for a second.
I mean, yeah, you got Taconic with 5 straight. Since they've broken up, Taconic 5 straight Western Mass 3 straight
State
Western Mass
semifinals,
finals, 5 straight Final Fours, Monument State title game.
So if you just look, like, even just last year, this particular sextet, I had to look that up. Sextet.
You're a writer.
Sixum. Had a representative in the Final Four of D3, D4, and D5. They had 3 Final Four teams the year before that as well. And each of the past 3 years, I believe, they've had a team in Lowell. Taconic won it in 23. Hoosick lost in 24. Monument lost there last year. Let's see, they've played in 11 of the Western, what is now the Western Mass Championship games of the PVISD. They've won 7 Western Mass titles, reached 9 Final Fours, and they've also won 8 league titles over those 4 seasons, given that that's Suburban North, Hampshire South, I think, for Drury, and
Bi-County East.
Bi-County East for Monument's won the last 3 Bi-County East titles. So, and yeah, you look at like Monument and Pittsfield have played in the last 2 Class B titles. Before that, Taconic was in, I think,
2 straight.
2 straight, going back 7 straight, something
Oh,
like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
They were kind of in it forever. So it's just a wildly impressive. I was also looking at the coaching tenures of those 6 teams, save for obviously Hoosick going through a change right now, but prior to that, they had a 30-year head coach who took a break in there, admittedly. But Randy Coldis is in his 8th season of his 2nd stint, which going back is about 24 years of head coaching experience. Bill Hafey, I believe, starting his 26th season. Jack Reset at Drury, 21st season. Dustin Belcher, I think, is 13th
18th.
season. Dustin? No, not 18. He took over in 2013.
Oh, okay. 13th. I did just write his thing, so maybe
he was on Ed Ladley's staff for a while, or maybe that's
Forever.
softball
Yeah.
also. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
But he took over, I believe, 2013 is when Ladley retired, and then even Jerome Edgerton at Pittsfield's only in his 4th season, but you could clearly see that he's kind of ingrained a culture there already. So this is it's a league of very heavy hitters. So regardless of what we think about them entering the season, a lot of these teams went through a lot of change. Pittsfield and Taconic kind of chief among them, but
Monument as well.
But it's some serious
history,
cachet.
Yeah, a lot of history, a lot of cachet. You know, I said this during the fall season, and I'll say it again. I am worried. End of season for postseason rankings. This is 100% going to hurt their power ratings, and it's really going to depend on how well they can schedule non-league games and how well they can play in those non-league games. You know, you see Monument getting Clinton. That's a good game. Pittsfield went out and really scheduled tough. They play Holyoke. Taconic plays Longmeadow tomorrow. Like some of them have definitely played some decent teams, but it really is going to be a question of whether or not they can play good non-league schedules for state power rating purposes.
You know, I don't think to the coaches it matters. I think they are. I think by and large, and this is anecdotal talking with coaches over the last couple of years, that they're more invested in the idea that they're all going to play each other in a league than they are about getting to a Final Four. I think the idea that a Berkshire County league is back is the coaches like that idea more than what could come after the regular season.
So I think there's kind of a divide with what you're saying. I think the non-Pittsfield side is very happy. I think the Pittsfield coach side, and when I say Pittsfield, I mean, PPS, is less happy because they understand that, I think they like the idea that they're in a Berkshire League, but they know that, hey, we're playing up in D3. These teams are not going to help us to the same extent, both power ratings-wise and preparation-wise, and we have it much harder. And so I do think there is far more reluctance and perhaps anxiety on that front, on their hand, having talked to them about it, because, Wacona's a good team, Monument's a good team, Drury and Hoosick are good teams, but they are not going to have the athleticism or the depth or the height that, if you have to play a Watertown where, you saw them, they had a 6'10" kid, right? Like, you're not seeing that come through Adams. So
no, they had that 6'10" kid, and they proceeded to get their, get beaten pretty badly. No, and that's all a good point, and we've had this discussion with other sports as well. I just think that with this league, the way it is set up, that even a Bill Hafey, whose team has done well, in state play, is, he's a St. Joe kid. He's a he's a Pittsfield, he's a Friday night at the boys club basketball guy, high school basketball guy. I think this to all of the coaches, and I think ultimately to all of the players, is going to mean. I saw Jack Reset. I was up Sunday at the MCLA game. And he said he's thrilled he doesn't have to go over the mountain anymore.
I think the players are absolutely ecstatic for this. I think it's great for the players. Like Taconic Drury isn't a rivalry in the same way as like Taconic Pittsfield, Taconic Wacona, or Drury Hoosick. But at the same time, I think you're going to get a better crowd on a Wednesday night for Drury Taconic than you are for Drury Athol or something like that. Like, that's going to do way better, and it's way more fun too. They see each other in multiple sports. They're both. It's funny because Berkshire County teams. There's the whole Berkshire versus Valley, right? And it's like, Valley kids, you have to understand, Berkshire kids don't want to lose to Berkshire kids more than anyone else, right? Like, that's who you hate losing to the most. Obviously, then in the playoffs, all of a sudden you see, like, yeah, they're the Berkshire team, so we're pulling for them. It's like, well, hold on a second. You were laughing. You were saying, your fans were saying, warm the buses when you're up by 20 and still pouring it on. Like, what are we doing here? But I think from the players, it's going to be very, very good. But,
it's interesting because you guys haven't been around long enough. Back in, and I don't want to make this sound like, the old guy on the lawn thing, but back in the day when the Berkshire North and South existed, Friday night games, anywhere, full houses. That's, and I think that's something that certainly athletic administrators look at because basketball's one of the sports that you charge admission for. And if and it's one thing, to have a really good game, say Pittsfield Minichog, just pulling a school out of the hat. Mm-hmm. But it's not going to draw anywhere near what a Friday night Pittsfield Drury game is going to do. And I think not only does it invigorate the players who have played against each other since they're 9 years old, it invigorates the student body, and it invigorates, in my opinion, the non-connected basketball fans who want to come out and see as they like to say, from the Pittsfield-Taconic game, a war on the floor.
Well, and speaking of that, I was going to say, thankfully, War on the Floor still at the Boys and Girls Club. It's not quite coming up yet. However, last year, Pittsfield-Taconic girls did not play. This year, they are playing again. That game is going to be the Pittsfield-Taconic girls game will be February 4th. It's the second game of a doubleheader. Excuse me, it's the first game of a doubleheader. Second game will be the boys' side. So that'll be a lot of fun in February down the line when we have War on the Floor Part 2 at the Boys and Girls Club. You start off with the girls playing, haven't played in over a year, and then the boys play. So that should be a ton of fun. That'll be really good for local basketball. Also want to mention that Lee, Greylock, Lennox, who else? Lee, Greylock, Lennox, and Mount Everett are all in a league together.
For boys, Greylock, Lee, Lennox, and Everett are with Libertas and Veritas.
Right. And McCann is with all the tech schools by itself.
McCann is in the Tri-County North, with it's a bunch of Voc tech schools.
So is that the Latin League?
Pretty much.
Kind of popped up that way. When I was filling in the schedules, I wrote a lot of Libertas and Veritas, which I was not expecting to write.
And of course, as for those of you who don't know, Dan Cordy is back coaching at Lee, and Dan Cordy played for Randy Coldis at Monument Mountain.
Oh, there you go. That's funny. Lee and Monument play on the 23rd. That's going to be the court dedication to Lou. What's his name for Monument?
Oggiani?
Lou Oggiani, yes. The late Lou Oggiani. Longtime statistician, Great Barrington lawyer. one of the truly good guys down there. And as long as we're mentioning that, we should pass along our condolences to the family of the late Bob LeClaire, the former McCann and Drury coach, who most recently had been Ron Wojcik's assistant at Hoosick Valley, passed away earlier this week, as did Mike Huggins, who was the football coach at Monument Mountain about 20 years ago and came up through the youth leagues, coached there, took over, had some good teams, and he also lost a cancer battle. So our condolences go out to all their families.
Yeah, Bob LeClaire took McCann to the promised land on the football field, which you kind of never expected from McCann, and he took them to.
I was there. Yeah,
Western Mass champions.
And I can remember them playing in the Voc final that same year.
Yeah, so we will hop over to the girls' side on a little bit of a brighter note after we take this break. Not to talk about death and then say, all right, guys, you're going to have to sit on it, but we'll be right back shortly.
PCTV Select is a great way to watch local content without having a cable subscription. You can keep up with the latest of what's going on in your community from anywhere in the world, and it's available for free right now. Watch live events in full HD on your TV, on your computer, or on the go with your mobile device. Or watch our large library of on-demand video programs anytime that's convenient for you. No more waiting until it's on TV. Did we mention it's free? PCTV Select is everywhere you need to be.
Hi, this is Sean Sayre, Executive Director of PCTV. When Taconic High School was demolished, we could have lost this radio station. Instead, PCTV stepped in, built a new studio and transmitter, and gave the station new life. And now it's time to pay that back. Support this station today. Go to WTBR-FM.com and click the donate button. You won't be sorry. Pittsfield Community Radio thanks you for your support.
Welcome back, folks. Bird's Eye View here on WTBR-FM Pittsfield, WSBR Lee. We're talking some boys basketball. As we mentioned, Berkshire League back on the boys' side. On the girls' side, we have a near Berkshire League, I guess we can say. So Pittsfield girls have been kind of operating at a clear level above the rest of the county for a couple of years now. They are in the Valley League. It is reformed from last year. Pittsfield had been in the Valley Wheel, which is the second best league. It was a very good league. Now they're in the best league, and it is a truly dynamo league. You have Pittsfield, you have Springfield Central, which has been a state power for years now. Won the state championship in 2022. Went to the Final Four. Went to the Final Four in 24 and 25. You have Northampton, which was a Final Four team in D2 in 2024. Went to the quarterfinals last year. It has made 4 straight Class A Western Mass finals. You have Longmeadow, which is a good team. You have Minnetonka, which was the only team to beat Pittsfield in the regular season last year. And you have South Hadley, which beat Pittsfield for the Western Mass Championship in 2024. That went to 2 straight D4 championship games in 2024 and 2025. So a phenomenal league. That's where Pittsfield is. However, kind of the next upper echelon of Berkshire teams are all together. So you have Wacona, Hoosick, they stick together. Then you add in Drury and Lennox, and you have Pope Francis and Frontier. And I think that should be a really, really good league. Lennox and Frontier were in the same league in the Franklin North together. They move over. Drury and Pope had been in the Central. They move over together. So that's going to be a really, really fun league. I think for Drury... Well, Drury not so much. They Ian Downey had done a pretty good job of scheduling tough non-league schedules, and he had some good teams in his league. But for Lennox, I think this is great because even though Lennox isn't as good this year, or I don't expect them to be as good this year, they didn't have a lot of league competition. And, I think in tournament time, they got surprised a little bit by some of the better teams. And now they're going to have that kind of early competition when you have to play Wacona twice and Hoosick twice. You get 2 games against Drury. Pope and Frontier are good teams. So I think that should be a really, really interesting, fun league. I expect Wacona to dominate it this year. However, I have high expectations for the Wacona girls. Madison McCarthy should be on track for 1,000 points, barring injury, knock on wood, all that. She can hit it from deep. She had 61 three-pointers last year, which was a sniper. Showed a little bit of a growing kind of game driving. And you have Danielle Hagmeyer, who I think is poised for a breakout at center. She's got some good height. She has good post moves inside. They did not lose a senior, I don't think. They did not have seniors on the team last year. I'm almost positive. So literally everyone is back. And they went to the round of 16 in D4. They gave the 2 seed a good fight. So I'm high on what the Wauconda girls can do this year.
Yeah, I've heard that from other people that they could be one of the teams to beat in Western Massachusetts. That young group last year took some lumps early and figured it out as they went along. And it's not easy to figure out because Liz Kay, the veteran coach there, does not run a very simple offense and defense. You've got to learn it. And they did a really good job as the season went on figuring things out.
Well, and now, last year they had a lot of freshmen and sophomore playing big minutes. Like, now they're older. Nothing's new. There's no install. Like, they can kind of just get out and go, and I think they should be really good. My pick for the Western Mass Class B final on the girls' side is Wauconda versus Pittsfield. I think Pittsfield wins it. I think Pittsfield should go back-to-back. But I think it's Pittsfield-Wauconda, and I think Wauconda absolutely has another Final Four run in it. I think that's very, very possible. I'm high on Wauconda. Hoosick will be interesting to see how they kind of rebuild, just because they lost to. Ashlyn Lejeune is I think an easy Hall of Famer for Hoosick Valley Athletics. Emma Meswar probably up there as well. Lejeune 1,000-point scorer. She and Meswar, three state title games in 4 years, 2 state champions, going back to back, 4 straight Western Mass champions.
I'm a little higher on them than you sound because. While they were there, most of the rest of John Frederick's rotation were underclassmen. They were playing 8th graders and freshmen in the regular rotation last year, and they were performing more than adequately. They were, at times, people who helped carry those teams through certain games. So I'm a little higher on them because, although those are 2 gigantic holes to fill.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, and I think they will be solid, but there's a difference between getting those minutes and then, you have to replace, 25 points and 7 assists and 7 rebounds a game, and you got to be the start. It's just different without that.
It absolutely is. But
and also, I should say, in close games, hey, we're getting the ball to Ashlyn Lejeune, get out of the way.
Yeah, and although knowing the way Hoosick has played the last several years, Annie Canales, who's now an assistant coach at Williams, was a big scorer. They replaced her. And, that's the one thing Hoosick has been really good at over the last decade is the next guy, the next person who is the person on their team. They've been able to find someone to slot right in there. And even if it takes them a little bit of time to get up there, they got the next people lined up.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do. I definitely think this could be a team that, by the midpoint of the season, is 4-6, 5-5, and they end the season, on a 7-game winning streak because they kind of figured out how to play without Lejeune and Meswar. So I could see that being the case where the first half of the season there's a lot of growing pains as they are figuring out the rotation, figuring out the scoring, who gets the ball, all that, and then down the line they kind of get hot, get it together. Lee, Monument Mountain, Taconic, and Greylock are all together in a league along with East Hampton and Pioneer Valley Christian. So that should also be an interesting league, which I think Lee definitely should dominate.
Which will be interesting because Lee and Greylock both have new coaches.
Right.
And
and speaking of Hoosick, Lee's coach, Lexi Mercier.
Yes, and Jabari Powell is the new coach of the Mount Greylock girls. He was a multi-sport athlete and a Division I football player coming out of St. Joe. And how quickly they adjust to what the coaches want will determine how far they go. I imagine that Lee will be somewhat Hoosick light. They will play somewhat similarly to the way she played when she was a player. I don't know exactly, what Greylock's going to look like, but they've got some the girls have some talent. They've got some size.
Mike, you were saying something about that earlier, or yesterday.
Which one?
Greylock girls.
Yeah. To a wider point, just even going back to losing Ashley Leger, you don't lose scoring as much as it's girls basketball right now is high pressure, full court press. That's what almost everybody seems to do. And when you lose an Ashley Leger, you lose you have to be able to break the press. And she is as good as we've seen, I think, at that in for 4 straight years, really. So that's going to happen. I mean, I imagine everyone in that league is probably going to be, Wacona especially, is going to be on you from the moment you inbound the ball. For Lee as well, they kind of run that press, and I think, yeah, like you said, it'll be somewhat akin to Huzik, and Lee has the bodies to do that. Greylock has the athletes to do that as well. It's the other side for Greylock of scoring. The basketball has been a problem now for 3 years, and I don't know that gets any better. Tanley Drake is a name that I've been curious to see over the last 2 years, I think. And she kind of has been dealing with some injury stuff, but coming off soccer season, I'm excited to see what she looks like. Madison Powell, Lauren Powell. You do have a lot of athletes there. Madison Drake, the sister, sister quartet there. Should bring you home. The question I had was, can they get some of the volleyball players? Because we're talking about the premier volleyball program in the Berkshires over the past 5 years, and for whatever reason has not translated to height on the basketball court.
No, but Tanley Drake's tall, and if she can get inside.
She is very athletic. She is one of the most athletic girls in the county.
But they do need some shooting to open things up for her.
Yeah, Lee is a team, it's going to be interesting because they have a new head coach who certainly has high basketball pedigree. Lexi Mercier, 1,000-point scorer at Hoosick Valley, won a state championship there in 2019 against St. Mary's of Lynn, and was on Rick Polari's staff last year. Right, and it was the JV coach last year. Was on Rick Polari's staff, so definitely learned from a very good coach. But she is still, taking it over for the first time. That is going to be an adjustment period, and Lee went to the Final Four last year, upset Hopedale, which was the number 1 seed. And, we're looking at it, so to make a college reference, Springfield Central hit the transfer portal. They grabbed the best player. They grabbed Zion Wallace from Renaissance, and they grabbed her sister as well. They grabbed a player from Springfield International. And so, we've been talking about Renaissance is going to be the team to beat in D5 for as long as Zion Wallace is there. Well, she's no longer there. And so Renaissance, I don't think, is the team to fear anymore. Huzik might be kind of in a limbo state for this year at least. And you're looking at D5, and you're going, it's wide open. I think Hopedale will be really, really good again. Phoebe Carroll is like 1,000-point scorer for them, and she's very tall. And so I think Hopedale will be very, very good. Their volleyball team just won the D5 state championship. But I'm looking at Lee, and I'm going, Lee might be a legitimate contender in D5. They're pretty young still. They no longer have Mia Polari. But Gianna Carlino could be one of the best players in the county. She's coming back. Mika Dillard could be a really good big. She's coming back. They have Peyton Simmons. They have Leona Driscoll. They have Kenzie Garrity, right?
Kenzie Garrity.
So it's like they got some really
Jenna
good
Simone,
pieces, and once again, new head coach. So how does she figure things out? But they could be a legitimate team to watch in states.
Yeah, they're going to be a team. They're going to have to press you a lot because they're not giant. They're not
outside of Dillard. No.
Yeah, they're not particularly big, and if they play similar to the way the Pittsfield girls play defense. They can beat a lot. They can beat an awful lot of people. I remember Mike and I were at the Pioneer Valley tip-off last year, and we saw the Pittsfield girls in an early game, and you watch them and you say, yeah, they're the type of team that presses you before you get off the bus. Yep. And I think that's what Lee's going to have to do.
Yeah. So Mount Everett McCann girls are also, Mount Everett girls are still a JV program. McCann girls are elsewhere. So we only have a minute left. But yeah, so that's how the basketball season's shaping up. Should be an interesting season. Pittsfield girls, I think, definitely should be a Final Four team in Division III. St. Mary's of Lynn, which has won 3 of 4 D3 titles, is now in D2. So that is not a roadblock for PHS. Foxborough is still a roadblock. And Cathedral, which won 3 straight D4 state championships, beat Wacona, South Hadley twice. Cathedral is now in D3, so if Pittsfield's looking for a deep run, that is a new obstacle. But I think even if Pittsfield's regular season record is not as good because of the schedule they play, their power rankings should be excellent because of the schedule they play. They should be a high seed if everything goes right. Madison Stetz, the health of her will be a question mark. But yeah, so basketball season starting up. Thank you all for tuning in. We got some games tonight, got some games tomorrow. Have a good rest of your weekend.